Throughout the history of baseball, pitching roles have, for the most part, stayed pretty set in stone. Even though every pitcher is different, hitting against two different pitchers warrants two completely different plans of attack, there's always the starting pitcher whose responsibility is to pitch for as long as they can in a single game. Then there's reliefs, who are meant to try to get the team through whatever innings the starter couldn't to finish the game. When baseball first started, the standard was for the starting pitcher to go the entire game, but pitchers are changing. In 2018, the Tampa Bay Rays made headlines by using what they called the opener. They would take the relief pitcher and try to flip the old school rules by having the first pitcher of the day go maybe 1 or 2 innings, then immediately switch him for someone to do the remaining 7 or 8. Even with that, it's probably safe to assume that the first pitcher a team uses in a particular game will go at least 1 inning, especially if the first pitcher is a traditional starter. Or at least it was, until October 17th, 2018. The day the Milwaukee Brewers did something so brilliant and unexpected that it might have had a hand in completely changing baseball. Welcome to Game 5 of the 2018 NLCS, the day the Milwaukee Brewers used a fake starting pitcher. How is this even possible? Let's go back in time just a little bit. It's such a cliche. It's important to put ourselves in the right state of mind for this story. Context within the 2018 baseball landscape and the Brewers manager Craig Counsell helped to understand why this happened. Since the very idea of a fake pitcher just sounds wrong, evil, and downright kiss your mother with a 2x4 crazy. We need a backstory for this one. As I said just a few moments ago, 2018 was also the year the Rays popularized the opener. While known as their niche, other teams tried it at certain points too during the season, with mixed success. The A's even tried it in the wild card game. It didn't work.
And a draw. Deep left. 2-0 Yankees.
Liam Hendriks still went crazy and tore hitters apart the next year, though. The Brewers did it too, with a pitcher named Dan Jennings less than a month before this famous game with the Dodgers. The thing with him, though, was that he had never been a starting pitcher before in his major league career, so there was really not a lot of reason for people to believe he was going to go more than an inning, maybe 2 if he had a little bit of extra G-subs that morning. The Brewers themselves were in uncommon territory for the franchise. After winning 95 games in the regular season schedule, the Brewers had to go to Chicago and play for the division title and #1 seed in the NL playoffs. They won the game and reached the playoffs for only the 5th time in the 50 years of the franchise. Poggers. After sweeping the Rockies in the NLDS, the Brewers were only 1 series win away from the World Series for only the 3rd time in the team's history. Needless to say, the stakes were higher than a cow on a pot farm. Standing in their way were the Dodgers, and they could hit.
Max Muncy climbs in and drills one down the right field line. Seager goes to left center with another base hit. Ricochets off of Caesar. Second time in the last 4 games, a pitcher's been perfect into the 5th against LA. Until now, with a bullet to right, that leaves the yard. On the line again. Fly ball in center field. Metcalf has done it again.
Having reached the World Series and falling only 1 game short to the Astros a year earlier, they were the favorites to go back to the series again. In hindsight, the series loss to the Astros is looked at a little bit differently today. The Brewers won the thrilling first game of the series, which included a pitcher hitting a moonshot off of maybe the greatest pitcher of his generation.
Are you kidding? Home run! Woodruff!
They looked to be in position to win the second game too, but Justin Turner had other plans. After taking a rather uneventful Game 3, the Brewers lost a brutal 2-1 13-inning Game 4 that tied up the series for the Dodgers. That made Game 5 pretty important to say the least. Craig Counsell, who as a player was known for having a very unique batting stance, then came up with a strategy that may define his legacy as a manager. The Dodgers had a lot of guys on their team who could crush the ball from the left side of the plate. So he thought of a plan to announce that a left-handed pitcher named Wade Miley would start in Game 5, hoping the Dodgers would play more righty hitters because matchups in baseball are important, and usually when the batter and pitcher are of the same handedness, that's an advantage for the pitcher. And it worked. So here's how it went down. Wade Miley started the game by facing a lefty named Cody Bellinger, and he walked him. After that, his day was over. Then, right-handed starter Brandon Woodruff came in to take his place against a mainly right-handed lineup. A brilliant move that completely perplexed the baseball community and made every MLB The Show player wonder, why didn't I think of that?
Wait!
How'd it work out for the Brewers? Woodruff went 5 1/3 innings, allowing 3 earned runs and striking out 8 hitters. The Brewers lost the game 5-2 and lost the series 3 nights later. Some research showed that similar things had been done on 2 occasions earlier in baseball history, but never was exactly like this. The Pirates did it in the 1990 NLCS, starting a reliever named Ted Power, but he went a little over 2 innings in his start and was a full-time reliever that season. The second occasion was Game 7 of the 1924 World Series. The Washington Senators used a guy named Curly Ogden for the first 2 batters of the game for literally the exact same reason the Brewers bamboozled the Dodgers with Wade Miley. But in Ogden's young career, he had been a reliever more than he'd been a starter, so the opposing Giants may not have fully known what to expect. Also, that game is more famous for a pebble. Yeah, pebble. Look it up. No confirmation on if it was the pebble from SpongeBob or not, but the jury's still out. Miley hadn't come out of the bullpen in over 6 years. There was no reason to be suspicious of him going into the game, which made this particular move very unpredicted. You did hear me say early in this video that this may have contributed to a change in baseball. Well, in the ensuing offseason, news broke that starting in 2020, there would be a new rule that pitchers would have to face a minimum of 3 batters or finish an inning. The rule change is now official, and the Wade Miley strategy can never truly be replicated. Openers typically go 1 full inning at least, even 2 in some cases. So there's reasons to believe this rule change wasn't necessarily targeted at them. One batter lefty specialist and frequent pitching changes had been a pace of play complaint at the time, but the idea of a 3 batter minimum had never been out in the public until after the Brewers pulled these genius shenanigans of Game 5. This may have at least a little bit of correlation between that and the rule change, which will only lead to new innovative strategies from teams and leaving this moment as a blip in baseball history. Well, if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you. I'm glad to be back. It's really nice to be making content for Stark Raving Sports again. It feels good. Also, shouts out to all the people who actually thought I was British. I used to do voice acting a lot, so I used to use this voice when I'd make content and stuff like that because I hate my voice. I think is what it really boils down to. It's a nice change of pace for me because my voice is absolutely disgusting. Anyways, thank you. I want to see how many people actually stuck it through with me to the end.